All right. And the only other people we would show it to would be the other settlers, anybody else who is in this group. I appreciate, John, you organizing this, or, really well, it's your initiative, I think, and I appreciate it. And I respect that a lot. And what I wanted to say was, I've been supporting Hammond Hill and Small Living Company and Brad Karche and Aaron Markle and Nick Cripps too for a number of years now. And I would have to say, and I think probably other people on this call might share the same feeling, is I really like the guys and I like the concept, but I think the execution has not been as good as I expected. And I don't know if that's a fair statement, but John, maybe that would sum up maybe your feelings as well.
Yeah, I think that's accurate, and I mean it comes down to the numbers and the rentals at the end of the day, and those just haven't come through. I mean, I think the work they've done on Hammond Hill itself is phenomenal. You know, the events, the overall look and feel of the place. But yeah, they're not able to get, you know, I think anywhere close to what we were hoping for, especially for the summer and whatnot. But yeah, I think there's still a lot of potential there. So it's just a matter of eking that out and, you know, helping the guys out if they need that as well. And yeah, trying to work together to get this going.
Okay. We have somebody else who's joined us here at 613-853-4254. Who is that? Can you unmute yourself and tell us who you are?
Hey, this is TJ here. I'm just on the road here, so figured it's easier for me to just join in via cell phone here. So
That's great.
Thank you for arranging the call.
Oh, thanks for joining us, DJ. This is great. Okay, well,
Great.
for some of those who know me, I can't do anything without a slide deck. So I have a few slides I wanted to share with everybody, if that's okay. And John created an agenda for us, and I did my best to put some of it together on a slide deck. So you should be able to. John, can you see my slides? Okay.
Yep, those are great.
All right. So guys, Janice and the guys on the phone here on the call. I thought the original idea behind Hammond Hill was something similar to what Parkbridge does. Parkbridge is a very successful operator of a number of parks, I think over 120 of them now. So they are quite a large operator of parks. And you can see, a typical Parkbridge unit is on the right-hand side of the screen. These are modular homes that are on sites that are leased. So it's very similar to Hammond Hill. You have a site that you lease from Hammond Hill, and then you have some kind of a building on it. At Hammond Hill, you have a tiny house like the Vanguard on the left here, and on the right you have a modular house sitting on a site, and somebody owns that modular house. It's not Parkbridge. Parkbridge owns the land. They provide the services. Typically, these resorts that Parkbridge owns are near, a lake or a stream or a river or something like that. The difference, though, is that most, not all, but most of Parkbridge accommodation, and I think you know this, John, is either seasonal or yearly. I'm not saying that they don't have some short-term rentals. They do, but almost all of it, or most of it anyway, is kind of medium-term rental or long-term rental, and to my way of thinking, that's it's not as exciting in some ways as short-term rental, but its revenue is much more predictable, and I think ultimately it's less work and it's probably the same amount of money. So one of the questions, I'm going to stop sharing my screen right now, is whether the people on this call and anybody else who wants to participate. Oh, so there's Sylvie. Hi, Sylvie. Well, if he's trying to connect to audio. But what I was going to ask everybody is, the house that I bought from Small Living Company, one of those Vanguard models, believe it or not, is not yet on site. I paid for it last June, and they haven't yet finished it. So, I paid for it, but it's not on site yet. And now they're telling me that it may be on site, at the end of this month or the beginning of next month. But a long time between June of last year and May 1st this year to get my own tiny home. It's actually my wife's. on site. So that's a little disappointing for me. But I can tell you that I intend to put it on medium-term rental. I am not going to do short-term rental, and I have opted out of the Hammond Hill rental pool. I am not going into the rental pool. And one of the people on this call, which I'll ask him to introduce himself in a minute, Michael Swatton. Michael, just wave for a moment. That's Michael. This is a very nice young man. He's an Englishman, as you'll no doubt figure out for yourself when he says something. He's an Englishman. He's about 6'3", and he's an actor. He acts in horror films. Right now he's growing his beard and thinking about his next evil role, which starts, I think, in June. But putting that aside, he's also helping me in a number of ways with some of the work that I'm doing, some of the leasing work that I'm doing, some of the property management that I'm doing, because most actors between gigs have some spare time, and Michael's a bright, talented guy, and he's been helping me. So one of the things I've asked Michael to do is when Trailhouse, that's what I call the Vanguard, our Vanguard, my wife's Vanguard, when it finally does get on site, hopefully soon, we're going to put it on medium-term rental, which means anything from 1 month to 6 months. If somebody wanted it for longer than that, we would do a 6-month medium-term rental agreement, and then he or she would have to vacate for a day, and we do another 6 months. But they're medium-term rental agreements that is permitted under the zoning, and it's, as I said, it's not as exciting as short-term rental, but it's a hell of a lot less work and frankly more predictable. And Michael, I'll let you introduce yourself too.
Yeah, hi guys. I mean, Bruce said most of it there with kind words. I just actually met with Aaron down at Hammond Hill, and he showed me around the place, which of course is a very impressive operation. And I think that you guys are really in for a treat in the long term, but I know that things have been tricky in the short term running up to this. But yeah, he was telling me June 1st, he's aiming at having all the new tiny homes put on site there, because he's got a compactor coming in next week to sort out the ground. But yeah, it's an impressive operation. And yeah, I think you guys are obviously very patient to be sticking in here. But yeah, I think there's a bright future with those guys.
But Michael, what I think you should mention is that you've done a little bit of work marketing what I call Trail House, looking for medium-term rental candidates, and you've had a few people interested, correct?
5 or 6 people waiting to hear back, because I can't show them around right now because there's nothing there as such. So there's definitely interest. Yeah, there's definitely interest.
So
Michael,
what we're planning, sorry, Paul, what we're planning to do is we're planning to rent Trail House out for $1,600 a month plus HST. Because on medium-term rentals and short-term rentals, you have to, under my understanding of Canada Revenue Agency requirements, you have to charge HST, which is, I think, a good thing for us too. The reason Paul, I'll come back to you. I apologize for cutting you off, but the reason we charge $1,600 a month plus HST, or at least that's what we're asking, is that when we charge HST, it means that if you bought your place, I'm just making up the numbers, for $100,000 and you paid $13,000 in HST, you can file an input tax credit, excuse me, and you can get that $13,000 refunded. And so I want to make sure that everybody on this call and anybody who's watching the video knows that as long as you're registered for HST, either personally or your company, you can get your HST back. And I think that's pretty cool. Paul, I apologize for cutting you off.
Yeah, absolutely. No, Michael, I was just wondering where you're marketing the home. Are you on Facebook? Are you on some other platform?
Right now, just Facebook Marketplace. There's a lot of interest through there, and as well. But most of the interest has been through Facebook Marketplace.
Yeah. Same with I think Wayne's been doing the same thing with a lot of success, at least a lot of leads.
Yeah.
Not a lot of success, I should say. A lot of leads.
So
yeah,
one of the things, sorry, Michael, go ahead.
I had a couple of people that wanted to come and see it, but obviously couldn't do that as yet. So it's teetering on the edge right now.
Yeah. So
you can show them some of ours if you want. Sorry, Bruce, go ahead.
No, you go ahead, please.
Yeah, if you want to, I mean, you can show them ours and then reserve them for yours later. It's no problem there.
Well, let me just back up on that, Paul, for a minute. Like what I was going to suggest, and again, if nobody wants it, that's fine. But what I was going to suggest, Michael is when he's not acting, he's an out of work actor. So what I was going to suggest is that if anybody wanted to some help with medium term rentals, that you would consider paying $160 a month to Michael. I'll supervise him for each month that of a medium-term rental agreement. So if there's 2 months, it'd be $160 a month times 2. If there's 6 months, it'd be 100 paid each monthly. So you don't have to answer now, but if anybody's interested, Michael and I are prepared to help out here. We're prepared to do the marketing and the leasing. I have something, Paul, called a guest agreement. It's not even called a lease. And it's called a guest agreement. I use it all over the place. So again, it would be not less than 1 month, not more than 6 months. It would be, we're asking $1,600 plus HST. We might have to show some flexibility in that. And there would be a fee for that of $160 to your property manager leasing, if you want. So you guys all have my email address, and I think Michael's on that too. If you want, Paul, if you're interested in that, or Sylvie or Wayne or John or Janice or anybody else, you could reach out to me or Michael, say, yeah. So we would show your unit, Paul, and if somebody wanted it, because we don't, our unit, I just heard like 5 minutes ago from Michael that now they're not saying May 1st, they're saying June 1st. For Christ's sake, that's a year since I paid for it. Not too happy about that. But Paul, if we had your permission to show your unit, Michael would do that, and but we would invoice you $160 for that.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, we can talk through that. The one thought that comes to mind, I mean, I was just saying if you wanted to show mine for your unit, I would
Yeah.
be more than happy to do that. The one thought that I had when, as you're saying that was, my understanding is Brad was going to arrange for, the lease or the guest agreements as part of the property management fee that we're paying them.
Right. So what I'm saying, and what I have done, Paul, and listen again, I don't want to. I'm just here because John suggested it, and I thought it was a good idea to get together. I feel partly responsible for this mess, but no, we are not. I'm not paying them a 20% management fee. I've said no. Like I said, I paid for my tiny home in June of last year in cash. With the understanding it would be there, within 3 months. Now I'm hearing it's going to be a full year. I'm really unhappy about that. So I have exited the pool, and I'm not paying them 20% of anything. Again, I want to support Brad and Aaron and Nick, but there are limits to that support, Paul. And so if you wanted some help from me and Michael, you would simply tell us. We would tell Brad and Nick and Aaron that Paul or John or Sylvie or Wayne or Janice or anybody else who wants to is exiting the pool, not paying that 20% management fee, and you're going to do your own thing. If you don't like what Michael and I are doing, you can fire us and do it yourself. I'm fine with that. I am just not going to continue with this current scenario. And that's just, again, a personal point of view. And I don't know how to say it any better than that. John, what is your feeling?
Yeah, I mean, I'm on the management contract thing. I mean, I think a lot of our feelings was this, should be relatively turnkey, and whether we're paying 20% or not, for me is inconsequential if the thing is rented.
Anything else?
That's right. And yeah, I mean, I think lately too, like these guys have been pretty radio silent, so I think it might be worthwhile. Like I would like to talk to them as a group and just kind of get an understanding of what's going on and what they need, and how we can help them deliver this better, because I think they've got a lot of strong points, and then they've got other areas that just aren't working. And yeah, we need to work together on this, I think, to make it make sense.
Sylvia, any comments?
Well, we were we weren't happy with how, you know, they were promised. We were promised that the tiny homes were going to be delivered earlier, and we missed out on the entire summer last year. That we were not happy about. And I don't know. We're just we want more transparency, because getting quarterly deposits, we don't even know what the, like, when the tiny homes are rented, we don't know what they're rented for. And you can't just say, you know, here's an amount after the first quarter, after the second quarter. Like it doesn't, that doesn't work like that. That's not, if I was running a business like that, I would be out of business very quickly. It's
Yeah, I
it's
know.
not, I don't know. So for us, it's the transparency. Yeah.
So what I'm saying, Sylvie, is that let's say Bill Smith wants to rent your unit for 6 months at 15 or 1600 bucks a month plus HST, whatever it is. The lease would be with you, not with Hammond Hill. And the money would go to you
Okay.
directly. That's what I'm saying, Paul. And then if you have a property manager or a leasing specialist or somebody like young Michael here helping you, you can pay him 160 bucks a month for the work that he's doing. Or you know, Sylvia, you're a realtor, you can do it yourself. But you would listen, John, I respect what you said. You want to be supportive of the guys. I get that. I like your loyalty. And I share that to a point. But I am beyond that point. Now, I'm just saying personally, my wife is on my case. You know, we bought all the upgrades, the tech package, and all the rest of that. And like I said a few minutes ago, I hear it. Oh my God! Now it's not May. It wasn't April 1st. It wasn't May 1st. Now it's June 1st. Maybe we'll miss the summer. Sylvia, I'm not happy about it.
No, I agree with you, Bruce. And I mean, I'm holding back, to be frank, but
So are we. So are we.
yeah, I mean,
Holding
you know,
back.
we paid a lot of money for these units. These are almost $1,000 a foot, and you know, to have the bench fold down with a little piece of chopped rebar, and like
Yeah, I know.
it's a bit ridiculous. So but yeah, I mean, anyways, I'm
Sylvie,
just trying to keep moving forward here. And yeah, I think we want, you know, a concrete plan with these guys, and you know, particularly Aaron, because he's, you know, very charismatic. He's a great sales guy, but when
He
it
sure
comes
is.
to details and concrete things, you know, it's often responded to with another story. And like we haven't seen any commissions either for any of this for, you know, a year that we were promised and whatnot. And so that's there too. So I mean, I guess it's kind of at this stage just sort of picking our battles and trying to work with them, because we're, you know, we're all in this one or the other. And I think it can work. But yeah, I mean, I think we all need to have a meeting with the guys too, and get a good idea of what's going on, basically. And
So John, just so you know, I have had now 4 meetings with the guys.
Okay.
4. And I really I respect and like Aaron and Brad and Nick a lot. This is not me not liking them anymore. I've had 4 meetings with them. I am not having another meeting with them. I am not.
Fair.
Obviously, you guys can have as many meetings as you want.
Yeah.
But what I wanted to do today was to be frank with everybody.
Yeah.
And tell you guys that Michael and I are going to, we have informed Brad and Aaron and Nick, we're out of the rental pool. Paul, we're not paying 20% of anything.
Yeah.
We are going to rent Trail House. I know that there are fees unpaid, you know, referral fees unpaid, John. I'm aware of that because there's some referral fees that have been owed to me also for a year that haven't been paid. I learned from Aaron, Michael, you may be able to confirm this, but I learned from Aaron, I was amazed, frankly, and not amazed in a good way, that you can't access these units in the spring because it's too wet. And I'm flabbergasted that you would have 10 or 12 units on site now and not be able to access them. I just, or service them, apparently. I mean, John, do you know something different?
No, that's news to me.
That's news to me as well.
Yeah, that's news as well.
Ouch.
Can I
That's
show
not
you?
good.
Can I show you guys something? I've got a very short video that I would like to show you. Is that okay? Like it's a 1-minute video.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right.
Yes.
And because John, you know, I own some tiny homes and workshops on some different sites that I own. And I'm preparing, and Michael's helping me, I'm preparing another site right now for a tiny home that's going to be delivered shortly. Now, let me show you what site preparation looks, what Firestone does it, okay? Just give me a second here. Can you see my screen okay?
Yeah.
I gotta find you guys again, sorry. All right, sorry about that, but could you see the video okay?
Yeah.
Okay, so Michael, that's a road. It's about a 40-meter gravel road that we just finished putting in. It leads to a pad that's 41 feet by 18 feet, which is where the tiny house is going to go. This is a tiny house that's bought from another company that's going on that site for a client of ours. And that road will be there. Michael, you confirm this for me, for the next 100 years.
Oh yeah, it's very sturdy.
You could drive a tank in there, John.
That's good.
Maybe a Russian tank, and turn it around and bring it out, summer, winter, fall, doesn't matter what, short of like a flood of Noah's proportion, you know, 40 days and 40 nights of rain. So when Aaron says to me, Michael, that he can't access his own site in the spring, so he can't put what we call trail house in there, you know, I'm sort of failing to understand why. You were there today.
Did he tell you why specifically regarding the lack of the tree?
He said it was too wet and too soft. You were there today.
Yeah, so because you know there was this big storm where 5,000 trees disappeared, so it means that now there's nothing holding the ground together. So no, it's just sand and it's very soft. So he's saying he can't bring a tiny home onto the site because it's going to sink as it goes on, and it could lead a tiny home to be tipping over. Now he did say that he will be getting a compactor in next week to sort the ground out, and then you know in the next couple of weeks he will be putting the tiny homes on there. He said that Bruce's tiny home is about 3 days away from completion. Now, these are things that he's told me. I've only just met him. I'm only coming on this new. But now, I guess the question is, yeah, let's see if he does work within those timelines. He's also told me that he's got tens of thousands of people coming throughout the summer for festivals and weddings, and that those things are already booked. So it seems that he is aiming to be having this up and running by June, at least. So that's what he told me.
Okay, look, guys, the answer is that what we just did Michael, with Paul Lalonde, our contractor, is we put a road in over a sandy base, which is very wet and mucky in the spring. We have B, which is the big gravel stuff, the big, stones there, and then we have A, and then we have compacted it. That is a real road, and Hammond Hill doesn't have that. So maybe what Aaron was telling you today is that he plans to have it. Okay, great. So listen, John, I think what we could do is we could divide and conquer here a little bit. All right. There in your memo that you sent to everybody today, you brought up a few things that I think are important. And again, I'm just going to share my screen because I
No
put it
problem.
in the in this. Hang on a second. I gotta share it a little bit differently. There's different ways to share screens, and I gotta share it a little bit differently. Hang on. I gotta remember to remove these things. All right. So John sent this to everybody today, that there's some issues to be addressed. Water escaping the showers, getting onto the MDF, which obviously is a terrible thing for the MDF. It'll warp. There's no ventilation in the bathrooms, which I had heard about before, John, and that communication is lacking. I think somebody said that, maybe Sylvie said that. And I think both Sylvie and I think John as well, said that there have been no referral fees paid in a year. And this was John's point at the bottom, is that the quality of the units is poor for something that's as expensive as this is. That's pretty much the summary, right, John?
Yeah, that's more or less it. And I guess, I mean, I worry these guys are running out of money. I mean, I don't know how they're making enough either just to fund this compactor and the construction and everything. So
I'm really worried about
I think the
the running out of money as
work
well.
summer.
Mhm. I'm worried about the running out of money as well. And the other thing too is that the lake that they call, it's not a lake. It's I wouldn't swim in that. When they showed us pictures, it was like an aqua blue color. It's like swampy water. Like you can't. And I told them at the very beginning, we need to be very careful how you advertise that. You cannot be calling that a lake when it's very small, and I like it's dirty water, and they've been trying to clean up the dirty water for a long time, and they're having a very difficult time.
So I'm misspelling words, but so Sylvie, I added that point here. Ponds are not swimmable with a question mark. I have a lot of experience with ponds, Sylvie. I have dug dozens of them. And you can, in many cases, you can improve the quality of water through a couple things. One, you can throw a salt block in that's about this size, but they're like cow licks. You can buy them at any farm store. You throw a cow lick or a salt block into a body of water twice a summer. It generally cleans up the water beautifully. And sometimes you can add a little fountain, which will aerate it as well. Because this whole area is so sandy, I'm not worried about that there's not enough air in it, but there might be too much sediment in it, and it might need to have a couple of salt blocks in it. But if they know anything about it, and I certainly know how to fix ponds. Like I said, I've got many of them, and almost all of them are swimmable.
When Aaron was showing me the ponds today, he described it that you could drink the water. It's so clean. Now maybe he's just a good salesman, but I mean, it looked one of the pond that I saw. But they're ponds, they're not lakes. You're right, Sylvie.
Yeah, can I share a few thoughts here? Bruce, I think your perspective and John's perspective, I think these are things that we can tag team. Going the medium-term rental route is definitely something I'm going to think about and tap into your resources. And Michael, on the fixing what we can fix or give the inputs on what we can input into Hammond Hills. Again, I think I personally, I am concerned about their financial viability here. I'll just share a little bit about how I've expressed that to them and what they responded back with. They said that they have been injecting, and I don't know how true this is, but they have been injecting their personal funds of up to $2 million into this. And then the other thing is they're expecting a large sort of a venture capital investment into Hammond Hills. I don't know how true that is either. And so my thoughts around Hammond Hills is pretty simple. I had this in the email to Nick right now, but phase one needs to be completed and have a focus on the completion. So in my world of doing business, if I'm going to be building tiny homes, I'm going to have a process by which I'm overseeing a construction manager and I'm doing quality assurance on the build, right? Aaron's quality assurance is I'm going to sleep in these units after they're built and then fix it after the fact. That's his quality assurance. So there's a lack of like sort of competence around the construction process and QA process that's required. And on top of that, as John mentioned, the quality, right? The quality plus the completion, meaning gazebos, tech package, all these things. And then not to mention also the showers. There's a lot of, yeah.
Just, can you repeat that last thing? I missed something. Just before the tech package, you said something.
Well, there's an issue with quality and completion of these units. So, you know, we mentioned the rebar, right? These tiny homes don't look, you know, slick. At least $120,000 worth of slick.
And you stayed in them for a weekend, Paul, just as context, and not sure everybody knows that.
Right. We stayed in them and so we stayed in them and we pointed out like this is kind of a, I mean, this is a little bit harsh to say, but it's kind of a DIY special, right? Like I could make these tiny homes pretty much, you know, minus a little bit. And I'm very handy. That's why I can say that. But it's not high level professional grade. And so this idea that SLC is going to be this premier like tiny home manufacturer. I mean, I've seen pictures of tiny homes online that are just far more aesthetically pleasing and far more higher quality. Now, do they have all the bathroom, shower, and all that? The ones I've seen, they don't. So that's one thing, is the quality needs to go way higher in terms of fixing our units up. And then completion. So completion is another issue whereby like we don't have all the things we've been promised. And so my overall advice to these guys is this: you got to stop selling, finish maybe selling phase two, stop selling, focus on phase one and getting them rented out. Stop talking about Mexico, stop talking about these other sites that they're going to get, you know, going. There needs to be a focus on Hammond Hills. And so whatever message we give them, I think this is a key one that we've got to give, which is stop promising the world, stop faking like you've got this crazy great like thing going on here when you don't even have these units rented out. Most campsites are already like 70% rented out for the summer. Ours are not rented out. So we need to switch something. And the other problem I'm experiencing is with, you know, marketing side is, and if we can make sure this doesn't get shared to them, because I'll be a little bit more blunt in front of this group. But on the marketing side, you know, I'm getting a lot of pushback saying that, hey, we're doing all this work with all these events and all that stuff, but at the end of the day, it's just not working. And I think somebody alluded to that early on here. Whatever their marketing tactic is, it's just not working. So we need to really pull them back a little bit.
I got it. Paul,
Yeah.
You notice I don't know if you can see it on your screen, but I've been writing notes as you've been talking.
Oh, sorry, Bruce. I meant to say we can see your calendar. I meant to say that we only see your calendar. So
I didn't want to show my calendar, that's for sure. I'm pretty
you're a busy
busy,
man.
Paul. For an old guy, I'm pretty busy. Thank you very much for that. So you should be, I've been typing notes. So I wrote in here, ponds are not swimmable, maybe they need a salt block, add a fountain, maybe add some largemouth bass. I have largemouth bass in my ponds, and they're nature's cleanup crew. They eat everything. But then, Paul, while you were talking, again, I apologize. Phase 1 needs to be fully completed with QA. You don't want a do-it-yourself special. And then you said focus on Hammond Hill, which I got. But then you also said they're missing things that you've been promised, such as, and that's what I missed. Can you tell me such as?
Such as the tech package, the gazebo. I mean, and then I would argue some of the amenities around the park, which you know, like the trails, need to be really focused on. At least the last time I've been there. Now, I will also say that my family and Wayne's family went to Hammond Hills and we stayed there for 3 days. Actually, we really enjoyed it.
That's good.
Our kids thoroughly enjoyed it. We plan to go back again because we own these units. We got to get the most that we can out of it.
Right.
It is very nice when it's not swampy, and the weather's nice, and it's a nice, relaxing place to be. Just to put that out there.
Just want to ask a couple of questions. So Bruce and Michael's doing the marketing for you.
That's correct.
And then how about does that include managing the unit, including like getting a cleaner in there after the rentals and like, you know, like everything that's involved with managing the unit? Or is it just the marketing?
That's a good question. No, what we're going to do, Wayne, is the only thing that Michael and I are focused on would be, you know, making sure that you guys, if you want, have some leases. Like we have our own cleaner. You know, my wife she's like a super host or something like that on Airbnb, so she has her own cleaning crew. She can take care of her own units, not just here but elsewhere. So the only thing we would be responsible for is getting you a lease and getting you occupant. And we're fine if you want to do it yourself or you want to continue to rely on Hammond Hill. Whatever you guys decide, that's fine. Just for myself and my wife, we will do our own leasing and we'll do our own management. But you got to remember, Wayne, if we're talking about a 6-month lease, it's not like a short-term rental where you're cleaning up after a guest every 3 days. We're not going to do that.
Right. And so if we do leave the Hammond Hill management and go with something alternative like you guys, it would be fully managing the unit, right? For that fee per month.
I'm not sure if I understood that, Wayne.
Like you said what was it, $160 a month?
Yes. That's for doing the leasing.
For doing the leasing.
That's right.
I see.
It's just a fee for leasing, that's all.
Yep.
And you know, again, if you at the end of, say it was a 6-month lease, which I think is kind of typical for a medium-term rental, although it could be 4 months. You know, we have some apartments that we have on medium-term rental, and typically we get a few different clients. We get students who need it for 4 months. We get, you know, for example, visiting lecturers and professors who need it for 4 months, like a semester. We get a surprising number of divorced people. You know, they get fed up with their partners and they say, I'm leaving. And then they can think, oh, hell, where am I going? And then you get another type of group. You get contractors who are coming in to work with, I don't know, the city of Rockland for 4 months or 6 months, and they need a place. So you get all different types of people, but typically the medium-term rentals would be, they could be as little as 1 month, but typically I think they would be 3 or 4, 5 or 6 months.
Something else that I want to add was that when we got the unit, so we thought it was going to be bigger because the one that they were showing in the showroom That's the impression
Yeah,
that
it's pretty
that
small.
we have had gotten. And when we got our little, box, it feels like a 2x4 box. And then I found that the windows were very small. And I thought on a rainy day, when you're stuck inside playing board games or whatnot, it's going to be very depressing to have these tiny, tiny windows.
But Sylvie, I think Wayne is still thinking, and I guess you are still thinking about short-term rentals. I get that. Michael, you live in a tiny home, not one of these, but you live in a tiny home. And you're 6'3", and Sylvie, it's not big either. The one that Michael lives in is the Woodland studio. Michael, are you there now?
Yeah, I'm here right now. I was in a two-bedroom house in Gatineau for about 6 years before I came here, and I did wonder if I was going to be claustrophobic or something. But actually, I find the high ceilings take that away completely. Really, like there's a real efficiency of space. The only thing that I'm not doing is cooking so much because I don't have a big kitchen. But otherwise, I have I have no. I feel less claustrophobic in here than I did in a big house. Weirdly enough, because I'm in such a beautiful location as well. So I love the forest, I love nature, and I think with somewhere like Hammond Hill as well, there's not too much traffic on that road. There is a sense of peace and community which will draw you outside. And obviously, if the weather's crap, then sit inside, or I think they have some other places you can go to as well. Like there's that restaurant with the bar and all that, which seems
Sylvie,
selling me to.
this is Michael's house right now. It's called the Woodland Studio.
Oh, wow.
It's small. It's cute.
Yeah.
Very pleasant.
So, John, what do you think we should do next?
Yeah, I was gonna chime in. I mean, I think I know you're fed up with meeting with them. I'm gonna probably try to put something together on site in the next month. So I'll share that. I like the medium-term rental thing. I mean, even if I can get $1,400, I'm happy. I just don't want to have to deal with this. And if you financed it too, you're out 700 and some bucks a month with inadequate revenue to cover it. So that's kind of where I want to get to. I mean, it's yeah, I think that's good, and I'm gonna chase them for my commissions and try to snap them into shape and see what happens, I guess. I mean, it's I wish there was an easier answer.
So I think that's very helpful, John. One thing that we should all understand is, and I don't know if you've done it, but I did. So just give me a second. I'll show you guys something. You guys know what this is?
Yeah.
Do each of you have a trailer registration from them?
No.
Who has a trailer registration from these guys?
No.
Wayne, do you have one?
No, we just got the VIN numbers
No,
in an
okay,
email.
okay. So I have to tell you, John, I'm sorry. Again, Paul, you said it right. This is a private conversation, right, guys?
Yeah.
We're not sharing. We can share this with anybody in our group, but we're not sharing. We don't want to hurt anybody's feelings, and we're not going to share it with Brad and Aaron and Nick. Okay, guys? But I went out of my mind because I wanted this. This is my trailer under Trail House, and I got them to sign it. And I'm going to MTO tomorrow, the Ministry of Transportation for Ontario, and I'm going to transfer this into my wife's name because she owns it, not me. She's my boss, right? And once you have this and you register with MTO and you get a plate, right? It means that if something happens, Paul, to Hammond Hill, if they go bankrupt, you can go there with your F-150, maybe an F-350 if the roads are shitty. Excuse my language, Janice and Sylvie. But you can go with a 350 or maybe a 150, hook it up to your thing, and because I got other lands that I own, and you can just take it because you own it. You own it and it's yours. So I would strongly suggest, John, if you don't mind on behalf of the group, because you are going to talk to them. So I'm going to
Yeah.
go to, again, I apologize for going back and forth, sharing my screen. So I'm just going to, hopefully I'm sharing the right screen this time, Paul. So I'm going back to my list, issues to be addressed. I did not realize until just now that you did not have that. So I'm going to add to the list, John. I'm going to add to this list, sorry.
So Bruce, how
Yeah.
did you end up getting that document? Like, I wouldn't even know where to. Do you just go to Service on
So
how
Sylvie,
did you? Yeah.
so Sylvie, what I
Do
did
they
was
have?
I talked to Aaron Markle and Nick Cripps, and I said, I want my trailer registration and I wanted RFN, right friggin' now, although there might have been a different F word in there. All right.
Okay. Yeah.
Every trailer that they buy, they get one of these from trailer registration from the vendor of the trailers, okay? And it's in their name, which means if something happens to Hammond Hill, the creditors of Hammond Hill can come onto the site and do exactly what I was telling you a moment ago. They can haul your unit off.
Guys, just letting you know, I'm sorry I've got to drop off. Thank you so much, but thank you again, Bruce, so much.
But Paul,
No problem, Wayne.
Paul,
Paul,
before you leave, I'm going to ask John, because I kind of told him to ask on behalf of everybody, you included, for those registrations. You too, Sylvie. Okay.
Yes.
All right.
I'm
So
going
Paul,
to be
thanks
on
very
that
much for
ASAP.
coming today.
Thank you, everybody, and we'll be talking, I'm sure.
So
Okay. So let me just go back to the list one last time, okay? John, I apologize for putting you in the soup here, but
no, not at all.
you know, I think there are better days ahead, but we have to help them, and to help them, they have to help us. It's not just a one-way street, okay? So John, if you don't mind, you could take up everything on this list, all right? With them. Do you want me to put this in the chat box, or you've got it all?
I've got it basically.
Okay. So
I'll just copy
I
what's
didn't
left
realize
here.
until again a few minutes ago that not everybody, well, in fact, nobody had their registration, but you have to get your registration, everybody's registration. And then Sylvie, you have 6 days to take it to MTO and put it in your name. And it costs like something like $120 to do it. It's not expensive. So John, what they need, what people need, is they need the registration and a bill of sale, and it has to be an original. So MTO does not accept photocopies. So you need an original of the registration, and you need an original of the bill of sale showing that these units have been fully paid for. It has to be signed in blue ink, believe it or not, by Nick Cripps or Aaron Markle, and by the buyer. So in your case, John, you or Paul or Sylvie or Janice or Wayne. And then you have to go to MTO to register.
Right. Okay.
All right. So it's an original bill of sale signed by the seller and the buyer in blue ink, and the original of this, and then you go to MTO and you put it in your own name. All right.
The other olive branch too, Bruce, that you mentioned we did not talk about today was the HST refund. I have sent that through my accountant, who sounds confident that it's going to go. So that's definitely something to do if you haven't done that already. I needed my bill of sale and rental agreement basically, and that was it. So
that's great, John. So John will take it, it's his initiative to go and talk to the boys. If anybody wants help with medium-term rentals under the terms and conditions I talked about, which basically means we do the guest agreements for you, I charge you $160 a month, we'll do it. And if you want to do it yourself, fine. If you want to rely on Hammond Hill, whatever they're doing, that's fine with me too. But just let Michael and I know. Okay, guys?
Perfect.
All right. So we'll take responsibility for the income side. That's about all I can. John, you've known me for a while now. I'm a revenue side guy. That I'm good at. The other side of it, there are other people who are better at it, and that's why I'm grateful to you, and I'm sure everybody else is, that you're going to take up these questions that we all have. Okay.
Yeah, I'll do what I can, and thanks everyone for coming in, and thank you, Bruce.
Janice, did you have something you wanted to say?
Yes, please.
Go ahead.
Yes, I've had, some of the same situations and questions and things. And how many tiny homes are on there right now?
There are 10 on there now. And there's going to be, I think, Michael, 2 more, one that belongs to me and one that belongs to somebody else.
Okay, because actually I have arranged to come out next month. I'm going to be out there because I was interested to check it all out. Are these units certified, do you know?
That's a great question. John, do you know if they have been CSA approved?
No idea.
All right, John, that's another question you can add to the list.
Yeah, because I guess one thing I was thinking about, sorry for the background noise here. My plan B was to move it out, and I've got land in BC, and I was even going to move it to BC. And so I'm just wondering if I would run into problems doing that.
So one of the things that John will ask for, and I'm sure he will get them, is he will get your registration for you, okay? Your trailer registration. Once you put it in your own name, it's yours. And if you want to, haul it out of there and pull it somewhere else, because I'll be honest with you, I have thought of that too. I haven't done it, John, A, because my unit is not on site yet, and B, because I want to support the guys. I do.
Yeah.
And it's something that Paul said, I think, was really important. And he said that Wayne and Paul did spend, I think, 3 days there together with their families, and they really had a good time. So that that was the most positive thing here. I know the trailers are not as good as they should be, or the tiny homes are not as good as they should be. They're ridiculously expensive. I bought other tiny homes from other people that frankly are better value and better built. And I've seen some that are worse. But to me, the most positive thing that came out of today, Janice, is that Wayne and Paul and their families did have a good time. So that gives me some reason to hope. But if you come out and you're not happy, as long as you have that trailer registration, you just hook it up to I'm not sure exactly what you need to haul these things because they're pretty heavy, but you could haul it away and take it to BC.
Yeah. And just to add what you said, Bruce, too, on the camping thing, I mean, there's like a massive friggin' market for camping. Like, you want an official NCC campsite outside of Ottawa, like you got to be booked 6 months out. So I mean, there's thousands of people that are looking for, and real hardcore campers aren't renting those sites. They're going on Crown land. They're disappearing into the bush. I mean, if you want a turnkey camping light experience, it's there at Hammond Hill. So like, they've got to find a way to reach these people. So I think, yeah, there's an opportunity there. Anyways, sorry, go ahead, Janice. I mean to cut you off.
So, no, that's okay. So, Bruce, if it was a medium term rental situation, you're just doing the leasing. So then people would need to deal with management situations, right?
That's correct, yeah. So let's say, for example, it was a 4-month medium-term rental, Janice. It does mean that, between tenant A and tenant B, you'd have to hire somebody to go in and clean the place. You do need that and do general maintenance. I'm not in that business, and nor is Michael. We do have some Airbnb units, which my wife runs, but Janice, you may have heard me say this before. If my wife ever runs off with a younger man, I would take all of our units off of Airbnb overnight. She doesn't mind, babysitting guests. I'm not into that. So I prefer the medium-term rental and the long-term rental market. The long-term rental market in Ontario and in BC, frankly, is terrible because of the Residential Tenancy Act. It's just awful. So we are now doing many, many, many more medium-term rental agreements, even for ordinary apartments. We're just doing 6-month rentals. Then they're vacant for a day and then another 6 months. But that's the way we're doing it. We're fed up. But Dawn does have, my wife Dawn does have some short-term rentals and she operates them very well. Like I said, she's a super host, but I have no interest in getting a call Saturday night at 11:30 from somebody who's inebriated saying, how do I connect to Netflix? All right, but Janice, if you want some help with medium-term rentals on the leasing side, we're there to help. If you want to drag your tiny home to BC, you can do that, and you should do that. You own it, or you will when you get the registration. Okay. All right, John, I want to thank you again. Wayne, really appreciate everything. Sylvia, always good to see you. By the way, Sylvia and John, my wife just got back last night from Merida. She went there with a girlfriend just to get away and have a week away.
Nice.
And we got her home around 2:45 last night, so I'm a little tired today.
Fair enough.
So I'm a bit cranky too.
Just wanted to add something.
Yeah.
Sorry, just want to add something. The one feedback about our time there, we had a good time, mostly because of the setting and the trails, and the park itself is really nice, and it's really fun to stay there. Paul had more feedback about the quality of the build and a lot of the detail work.
Yeah.
The one thing that bothered me, and I don't know how much in detail we're getting with this, but were the toilets. So none of you have been there, right?
I haven't
the
stayed
time.
there.
Michael was there today.
Okay, so so the toilets are these, I forget what they're called, but
Princess toilets are $6,000.
Cinderella toilets.
They're called Cinderella
right.
toilets,
So-
and hang on a second, Wayne. They're called Cinderella toilets, and I always thought because they're fit for a princess, John. But that's not why they call them Cinderella toilets, because they turn poop into cinders.
Right. Okay, so it didn't feel that sanitary. Like you have to put these papers in before you go about your business, and then all of them were too tall. So my 10-year-old, who's a big kid, has to like jump just to sit on it. So anyways, the toilets bothered me. The other comment I wanted to make was about what Sylvie said. Do you guys have a login to their camp spot site?
No, I don't.
No.
Okay. So they operate the rentals through this camp spot website, and they gave us, like me and Paul at least, they gave us a login. And when you log in, you can see all the rentals for all the units. And I think, I don't remember, it was a while ago that I think Paul asked, like, oh, I want to know when and who's renting my unit. And then that's why they gave us this login to CampSpot. And when you log in, you can see your unit and all the units and all the rentals and like the status and like, oh, so-and-so paid deposit, so-and-so rented the place, and then they checked in, they checked out, and all that information. And so I haven't done the math, but I'm assuming that that's consistent with the payout after 3 months. But I thought that everybody got that, but it looks like you guys didn't.
Well, I think we should add
Nope.
that. John, I think we should add
Add
that
it to the list.
to the list. So, Wayne, you know, I'm just speaking for myself. I have never liked rental pools, and this goes back a long way. But I had a property manager once who insisted that because we had a much bigger portfolio back then, you know, we had maybe a couple of hundred units. He insisted all rents would go to him. He would deduct whatever fees he was owed, and then the balance would come to us. We did that for almost a year. And then this property manager, and I won't mention his name, but it was he eventually ended up in jail. And he had probably about 10 or 12 clients he was doing this to. and he collected the rents for, I think, 2 months and then ran off to Alberta. So if you say you have 500 units and I don't know, I'm just making up a number, the rent back then might have been $1,000 a unit. It means you could collect $500,000 for 2 months. That's $1 million in 31 or 32 days. And then he decided to take it all and run away. So I don't like rental pools. And I did say that to the boys. And I'm with John, at least on this part of it. I think we should build a community of people. I didn't ask you to talk about it, but I'm going to ask Michael to talk about what it's like where you are, because there's a community there. There are people with workshops, John and Wayne and everybody. There are people with tiny houses up there. There are people with cabins up there. You know, what kind of community is it like, Michael?
It's great. A lot of like-minded people who believe in like having a community. You know, we're all like looking out for each other. There's that social aspect as well. Yeah, you know, they're neighbors in the sort of traditional sense instead of just feeling isolated, and that's something. You know, yeah, it's great.
So Wayne, I think in addition to having more control, because the lease, at least in the medium-term lease, in my mind, would be between you as the owner and whoever the tenant is, and you're collecting the money and you're paying $160 to Michael and me if you want, or you do it yourself, but you control it. And if you want to have a period of time in the summer where you and your family can go, you just don't, your medium-term rental ends, you know, on June 15th and starts again on August 15th or whatever it is you decide. But I think that you have more control. Something I did tell Brad, John, just so you know, I went on his booking site. All right, the automatic booking site, because Brad's a tech guy, you know, and so are you, John.
Yeah.
You like tech. I went on the site. You could try it yourself. You cannot rent any of those units at all for a month. You cannot. I tried a number of different dates, and I showed Brad. Oh, he said, well, I guess it's only for short term. You wonder why there's no medium-term rentals. If you wanted to stay for a month, there wasn't an option there. It showed zero availability, and I tried a number of different ways, and I showed it to Brad on a Zoom call, and I said, it's a little frustrating if you can't, you know, use your tech, right? It's just too restrictive.
So my unit is currently booked for a medium-term rental.
Excellent.
Starting May 1st, I think. And the only way it was booked was by emailing Shannon. Like Shannon.
That's what I'm getting at. You just backed me up there, Wayne. That booking system of theirs doesn't, at least for what I wanted to do, doesn't work. So and how did you get the medium-term rental lead?
So I found it through Facebook Marketplace. I just put up a listing just like the Airbnb listing.
Yeah.
And they messaged me through that listing, and then I forwarded. It used to be Brad, but then now it's Shannon.
Yeah.
And then her and Lindsay set up the rental.
And do you mind if I ask on behalf of the group what you're charging a month for this medium-term rental?
I believe it's 1,600 plus HST, but
Perfect.
I don't even know since I didn't even set the price.
And you're giving up obviously 20%. And how many months did they book for?
So this guy booked for May, June, July.
That's perfect.
But to be honest, like until it happens, I'm not even like that confident.
Okay, well,
like you know the way things have gone, yeah.
But the good news, if you think about it from the user's point of view, is he or she or they have a cottage for $1,600 a month plus HST. John, if I went on Airbnb and I booked a cottage at a nice place near Ottawa, it might be $1,600 a week.
Yeah.
So Wayne, you know, you got an okay deal, but the user, whoever the buyer is or the guest is doing very well. Don't feel that you're overcharging. Like John said,
no, not at all.
No, not at all. But John said he would be happy with $1,400, which I respect. But if you think about it from the point of view of somebody who, like yourself, Wayne, enjoys the outdoors, or like Michael does, enjoys the outdoors and the trails, and it is a beautiful area, and maybe they like to golf occasionally. $1,600 a month plus HST is I'm telling you, there are plenty of cottages near Ottawa, which are, you know, $2,500 a week or more. So you know, I think you did okay, but I think the quote unquote the buyer here did fine too. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I'll be happy about it if it all goes through.
All right.
My
All right, guys,
confidence
I gotta get
in
rolling.
management is
Yeah,
low.
me too. Okay.
Yeah.
So Michael, thank you very much for your time today. Sylvie, great to see you. Janice, Wayne, John, all the best.
Okay.
Thank you, everybody.
Okay.